And Jazz Keys asks, would be interested to see more applications of this chorale texture. How about on a blues or rhythm changes? Can you make this work with the rhythm section, or is it a strictly solo piano approach? Okay, so that's a great question. And yes, it's very, very versatile. I'm going to just quickly go over what that approach is. And of course, it's in more detail in the video called chorale-type playing. And then I'm going to show some other applications for it. So I think I'm going to, in the video on Patreon, I used the tune Body and Soul, but for now I'm going to use the tune Blue and Green as an example tune. And this chorale-type playing, it's just the idea that if I take the chords to Blue and Green, I'm going to play 4-note chords. So da do da do da do 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 da do da do da do da do da do da. So 4-note chords, just not hyper analytical, just 2 notes in each hand, just this. And if I take any chord like that, like here's G minor 6, I can actually move these notes around stepwise. Right? Now, to make that work, one important thing to realize is, of course, you have to really know the scale. You have to really know the scale. But also, you can't be thinking about fingering if you're going to play this way. There's no fingering that really works. If I take this, I'm not thinking, oh. I'm not really trying to play a legato fingering or anything. You can actually just use all 1 or all 5. And here I can use all 1. But what's happening mechanically to make this work is I'm actually using the pedal on every note. So my foot is going like. You can't see that because it's happening under here. And I'm trying to do it in a way that's subtle, so I'm not going like. It's not that. It's just kind of it's a little sleight of hand. So if I can take just this sound and open it up, moving stepwise. I hope that made sense. It's something that's worth trying at the piano and experimenting with in a free way. It's not about correctness or anything, it's just you move whatever you can. I'm not exclusively using all pinkies and thumbs, but it's a lot of pinkies and thumbs. Now what if I move between chords now? So now I'm going to use this scale for A7. So. You see that? So now I'm going to now I'm going to play the first 2 chords of the song. So, kind of rubato. Now I'm on A7. I'm playing 5 notes, but you get the idea. Now if I do this in time, it doesn't even all have to connect stepwise. I can go 1, 2, now I'm starting to play the tune. I hope you can hear that. So I'm going to play quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Blue and green, right? So that's and the video explains all that in a little more detail. Although that's the crux of it. This way of playing, it just has a chorale type of vibe. If you ever find yourself reading through Bach chorales, for example, it usually necessitates that you play that way. You kind of use the pedal on every quarter note, and your fingers spider around the piano that way. Fred Hersch does this extremely well, so I got it from him. He never explained it this way literally, but he plays that way. The way I'm explaining it, I think, in a kind of a easier way. The way that I'm playing is not perfect, but it's sort of like a hack to access this sound quickly. Anyways, yeah, try this at the piano. So that's the chorale-like texture. But it doesn't need to be just for ballads. I mean, of course, in this tune, I'm playing, quarter notes, and it's a ballad, and it's moving slowly. It works well for ballads. But let's say I was going to play blue and green, and I wanted to play it like even eighths. So, okay, so, okay, so if I wanted to play it like that, now the subdivisions are 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da. So I can still take these shells and I can So I know that kind of looked like a lot. It is a lot, but actually the way I'm thinking about it is not much different than the chorale texture, except instead of the subdivisions being 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the subdivisions are 1 and a 2 and a 3 and. You know, I'm going to try something. I'm going to do one chorus of this subdivision, and then another chorus of this subdivision. So. So yeah, that's the chorale texture. It could work for any feel. I mean, because as harmonic of a study as it is, it's also a rhythmic utility. You know, chorale playing is actually rhythmic playing. It's just slow rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. But anything that you'd ever play has some rhythm. Even if it's rubato, it has rhythm, by the way. And if you're feeling those subdivisions, you can give yourself some shell. Like inside of all of that, are some sort of very clear shells, like what I just played. So yeah, I love the chorale texture. And also, the other question was, is it strictly a solo piano approach? No, not at all. I think you could do that with a bass player. I'm going to do a different feel. Let's say you're playing blue and green, and you're playing it like... Okay, so like kind of, if you're playing it like swing, two measures per chord, that would be kind of cool. So, and there was a bass player playing down here. Then I could kind of play up here. So I turn the metronome on. 2, 1, 2. Something like that. So it works in all contexts. it's very, very useful. I mean, yeah, so definitely like the chorale texture. It's a way of organizing your thoughts a little bit. And it's a way to play a lot, but only think about a little, which I think is important when you play the piano. I think just a broad idea that I have about playing that I'm still working out, and I'm open to debate. But here we are at the piano. We have 2 hands, 10 fingers, 88 keys. There's the potential to play a lot of things at once. And there is a certain skill that's prized and important of hearing more than one thing at the same time. And it would seem that the more you play, the more you need to hear, and that's totally true. However, practically speaking, when you're at the piano, I don't think it helps you to think about 4 things at once. You have to think about one thing. Playing piano is, if you're really going to play the piano well, you're thinking about one thing. So what I like about this is I can think about this and play. You know, I can do a lot, but really only think about one thing. The idea of thinking about one thing but playing a bunch of things has other implications too. I mean, something that I've talked about here in certain videos and also in live streams is the practice of keeping one thing the same in one hand and changing what you're playing in the other hand. And the effect is that, like, one hand is the straight man and the other hand is the free hand. So it sounds like you're doing 2 things at once, but really you're only actively thinking about one thing, and the other part is predetermined, so you can relegate it to the back of your mind, your inactive thought process. So when you play the piano, maybe one thing is active and other things can be in the background. Is that like RAM? I don't know how that works, but anyway, so let's say I decide this. That, you know, now so that was 3 or 4 pretty different things, but since the right hand was predetermined, I didn't really need to think about it. It was automatic. Although I didn't play all the rhythms exactly the same. So if I was really practicing this or doing it with a student, I would force them to do it exactly the same. But I think this is what's happening when you're improvising. There's one part that's predetermined, and it can be shifting. Maybe the right hand is predetermined for 4 measures, and then the next 4 measures, the left hand is predetermined. And when I say the left hand is predetermined, it can be this. Right? Now if I did that, so in that case, the left hand was predetermined. When I say predetermined, it doesn't need to be like some crazy line or something. So, and even what I just played, I mean, how do you think about that? Like this chord, is this chord 4 voices? I mean, on one hand, yeah. I mean, this is kind of a melody. But in this case, I'm not really thinking of this as 4 voices, although if I wanted to be maybe self-aggrandizing, I could say this is 4 voices. If I wanted to boost myself up, but practically speaking, this is 1 layer. And this is 1 layer. And layer 1 is set. Now layer 1, or layer 2, now watch this. I'm going to do the chorale texture in my right hand. You see that? Now what I just played, I guess I could say it's 3 voices, but I don't think it helps you to fragment your thinking like that. In fact, it really hurts you. So I hope you could see now that if I wanted to, I could say I just improvised in 3 voices. You know, you could say that, but practically not really. I mean, this is 1 layer, and that's predetermined, and the right hand was doing an operation that we already have done before and we're familiar with. And even though it's 2 parts, it's kind of 1 hand doing 1 thing. When you play the piano, basically it's just 2 parts. I mean, you have to hear every note, but you have to know what you're playing in your right hand. That has to be firm and understood. And you have to know what you're doing in your left hand. That has to be firm and understood. And if each hand is playing 2 parts like this, then I guess that's 4. But really it's just 2. And even when you're doing 2, there should just be 1 that's the priority. So when you play the piano, you're trying to defrag, not frag. You're not trying to multiply how many things you're thinking about at the same time. You really just want to be playing 1 thing. Now, what is that 1 thing? It's the melody. That's why the melody is always the most important thing. Okay, so that was a little bit of a tangent there, but it's such a great question from Jazz Keys that prompts so many great ideas. So I hope that was all food for thought. So, and check out that chorale-type playing video for a more in-depth look at this chorale thing. And try it at the piano yourself. For me, the big revelation in this chorale-type playing is about fingering. Just the fact that you're not supposed to have a perfect fingering. That'll really help, you know. There's nothing wrong with this. It's better not to play a wrong note, but fingering-wise, that's actually good sometimes, because if you can access that type of fingering, then a whole new universe of texture becomes available. Right? If you limit yourself to things that fit just within like a perfect ergonomical fingering system, then you can play almost nothing at the piano, because very few things fit the piano perfectly physically. Only like a B major scale ascending. That's the only thing. Okay, there was a few questions here. Oh yeah, Taylor. Yeah, can you imply the harmony more with this? Yep. Yeah, you see. Can you do the melody in the alto or the tenor? Yeah, you could put the melody in the alto or tenor. So if you were going to play blue and green, if I wanted to put Then you have to practice with your thumb. Yeah, so you could do that. That's good to practice. I was using a lot of pedal there. I don't know if it was obvious, but even not just this, but let's see. Yeah, there's pedal. Even the right hand notes were almost pedaled every time, just as much as possible, because I was not using a fingering that could have possibly connected that legato. Same thing with the tenor. I didn't like that one as much as the alto. But yeah, that's all good to practice. Umi asks, I find it very difficult to move several voices at the same time. Yeah, it is, I guess. Okay, so if you wanted to move, I guess I wanted to move here to here. One. Oh, several voices. Okay, so let's say I wanted to move the thumb up, and then okay, so that's yeah, when you first start doing this, to actually move, okay, so I'm moving this way. I know it probably looks like I'm not moving that much, but the first time you do this, it's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel like you're moving a lot because you're gonna be afraid. Like when you move here, the thing about using all the same finger on every note is that every note is kind of a leap of faith. You don't have the safety blanket of if I went like this, my fingers are here. So I'm not so afraid I'm gonna play a wrong note. So. But if you want to play that all with one finger, see, every time you move, there is a little bit of a leap of faith you have to take because you're more likely to play a wrong note than if your fingers are glued to the keys. But you see that it's bad to be glued to the keys anyways. And if you're really hearing it and you really know what you want to play, it should be equally easy to play it either way. A lot of this, it's interesting how much this has to do with technical elements of playing the piano. To really access these kind of textures on the piano, you have to have a conception of the piano that's not fingering specific. And this gets the piano to speak in a way that's not fingersy. but it feels kind of risky at first. But if it feels risky, I mean, in this case, it's a good thing. Taylor says, that's a great way to practice this chorale texture. Do it one hand at a time. Yeah, one hand at a time is a great way to practice this texture. Something like that. You notice when both hands, yeah, Umi, you're right. When both hands move, or when both fingers move at the same time. So. Yeah, anytime both fingers move at the same time, I feel it too. It's a little bit of a leap of faith. But that's a good thing. And you can see when I played it that time, I was moving quickly, but I wasn't using the pedal. You hear what it sounds like when you're not using the pedal. But if I did that with the pedal, a little slower,